From Scripps Sports, this is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to this week's episode of the Griz Insider here on the Montana Television Network. Alongside the voice of the Griz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen, and we're going to recap the latest Brawl of the Wild basketball series and start looking ahead to Boise as the basketball season continues to wrap up at the University of Montana. So, Riley, let's go ahead and talk about the two games, right? Obviously, Lady Griz dropping, another tough one to the Bobcats, and then the men, great game in the first half, and the Bobcats kind of pull away in the second half. A fun couple of games, but obviously the Grizzlies on the short end for both of them.
Yeah, and really, Kyle, my biggest takeaway driving home that night was how similar both games were to the matchups in Bozeman. And sometimes you'll see differences in style and just the adjustments that both coaches make. But particularly on the men's side of things, it was back and forth in the first half. Cats get the momentum going into the locker room, and it was really Montana State that threw the first punch in the second half. They did it in Bozeman. Grizz couldn't respond. Kind of happened here in Missoula, and that was a bit surprising, just in the fact for what Montana has done at home in this matchup. We're going for that milestone 100th win over Montana State here in Missoula. Couldn't get it done. On the Lady Griz side of things, just a tough start. They have had one tough quarter. It's felt like every game when they have struggled this year, and it just so happened to be the first. And that's that's really tough when you're playing a team that's as talented as Montana State is. So, yes, always a great day of fanfare. It's always the most special day, I think, in Missoula of the year when you host that doubleheader, and probably the same for Bozeman when they host the doubleheader, the rivalry matchup. But, yeah, Montana just not coming up on the right side of it this last Saturday.
What was it, I think, an 84-day stretch, right, where it was 2 losses in football, 2 losses in men's basketball, 2 losses in women's basketball to the Bobcats. So obviously things shifting all Montana State this academic calendar. And when you look at that women's game, especially, you hit the nail on the head. Another fast start for the Bobcats. Lady Griz showing some life in that second quarter. They go on a 10-0 run late in the second quarter as they kind of chip away, and you see defense turn to offense, making open baskets, things like that. Just couldn't sustain it in the second half.
Yeah, and I think that as we have told the story of both of these teams throughout the course of the year, that it's interesting the parallels. And I like seeing that because when I see the men's game on a weekend and maybe don't see the Lady Griz play, you start to look at it. And then vice versa, when you get to see both teams play in the same weekend, the lack of depth, I think, is really starting to hurt both of these teams to where you can't have that consistent performance. But when we do see the Lady Griz put it together, you know why they're capable of beating a team like Idaho State. And I think that it's fitting that that game is coming up for them this week as they start maybe their stretch run to try and get back to their winning ways, because that's when they played their best. And ironically, I think the men on their side of things, they played their best against Idaho State and Weber State. But you're right, when focusing in on the Lady Griz of what they're trying to do, that they certainly have that balance needed for a couple quarters. They just need to put it together for all four.
And as you mentioned on the men's side, obviously back and forth first half. Gosh, that was fun, wasn't it? It was 3 after 3. It was really just high-level basketball. It reminded me, honestly, a lot of the Big Sky Tournament Championship game against Northern Colorado for Montana last year, where it was just like both teams are shooting 70%, and it wasn't even bad defense. They were just shooting the lights out. And for Montana, it's just about consistency, right? We saw it in the Idaho win where they put up 19 points in the first half, and you're like, I don't know if they're going to win another game this year. And then the second half, you're like, I don't know who's going to beat them. They just look so good in those moments. It was the same way with the Cats. They look good, but then, man, when they falter a little bit, it was tougher to see them try and chip away and get back in it.
Well, and I think the tough part about that, Kyle, and a good observation on your part, is there's just a lot of guys out there searching for answers, maybe wanting somebody else to make the play rather than having that quick first step of just taking it to the hole and being the enforcer. And I think with this men's team, it's been wild just to see the conference play and just the ebbs and the flows. You start out 4-1, you beat UNLV, lose at home to Tech. Then you beat Portland State on the road. You cap it with a 4-game winning streak, a season high. And now the Griz have lost 3 of their last 4 games with some puzzling results in there. But they have shown what they can do, right? That second half against Idaho, Weber State, when they outscored them 45-22. And just getting in flow offensively, the turnovers have really cost them. And I think Coach DeCuire's talked about it, and he'll talk about it here on the show today, but offense is affecting their defense and vice versa, just trying to get on the same page for this group, and we've seen it. I mean, when they can put together, I think, a big number to watch for them, their total assists. When they have good assist numbers, that usually means a good sign. So we'll see if they can find that at least this weekend.
And if there was ever a time to do it, now's the time to do it with 5 games left in the regular season. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but after the break, Riley will catch up with head coach Travis DeCuire.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Griz Insider. The stretch run of the regular season is here, and Grizzly basketball going on the road this week at Idaho State and at Weber State. Here to talk all about it, head coach Travis DeCuire. Coach, tough one, rivalry matchup on Saturday against Montana State. Back and forth the whole way. They pulled through at the very end. Just kind of your thoughts on how that game unfolded and your biggest takeaways from it.
Biggest takeaway for me is some of our deficiencies showed up at the wrong time on the wrong day, and kind of been our Achilles heel a little bit. In conference and even in non-conference in terms of some strengths and weaknesses of individuals and then us as a group. So we just need to find a way to be more consistent on both sides of the ball.
Grizzlies in third place right now, still a lot to play for the final 5 games of the regular season. When you compare this group to teams you've had in the past, the ebbs and the flows of the season, have you ever had maybe a team that's had so many highs, so many lows, and back and forth here in January and even in the middle of February to try and get on the right page?
I think 2016, year 2, the 2024 team, both teams found themselves in the Big Sky Championship game. We were capable of winning the championship. Both teams fell a little short. Won the 2 seed, which I think we lost our last game of the season to tie for a championship, and then the other one in 2024 ended with a streak. And so if we can find a way to get this team to finish the season anywhere similar to one of those 2 teams, I think we'll be happy.
And the Griz have already put together a 3-game winning streak and a 4-game winning streak in conference play. They'll look to start another streak here at Idaho State starting on Thursday. Coach, when you just look at who you start on a day-to-day basis, right, the fact you have 3 underclassmen and the growing pains that maybe go through that, and then you've got the experience of your Money Williams and Tajon Sawyer, how have you seen the blend of the veterans and with the newcomers this season as you point towards crunch time?
I think it's been a good blend. I think, you look at ever since 2020, every Division I basketball coach has said, get old and stay old. And we've somewhat done that, but at the same time, we've put some youth on the floor, and this year a little more youth than normal. And I think that's kind of cost us a little bit just in terms of experience, not talent, not ability, but experience, and we need guys to start playing a little older.
Well, this time of year, Kyle and I, we talk about brackets and what's coming up in Boise. We'll do that later on in the show. Just kind of your thoughts on where you sit, and you always have great perspective on the rest of the Big Sky Conference, maybe the messaging to your team for what you're playing for the final 5 games here the regular season.
Well, we've said it all the time. Anybody can beat anybody in this conference, and it's very obvious, right? You look up and NAU had Portland State down 10 points, and they're missing two guys that, start a lot of games for them. So, it's wide open. Obviously Portland State has separated themselves in terms of overall record. Montana State is playing really good basketball right now. The hottest team is probably Eastern Washington. So I think Boise will be entertaining. I think these last 2 weeks would be entertaining.
I think so too, yeah. Stay tuned for all of the Griz basketball and Big Sky Conference basketball moving forward, Coach. Just maybe 1 or 2 things that you think this team has to improve on, or things that you're really focusing on as you get ready to go here for practice, get ready for the next 2 games.
Attention to detail. I think it's the details that are beating us right now in terms of the specifics offensively and what it is we're trying to get out of each possession, especially when it becomes a game of possessions. And then the same thing defensively, just our execution in the moment. Sometimes it's a lot more difficult, especially with the defense at the other end when you don't hear coaches over communicating. We fall short in a couple possessions here and there of some things. And then just managing ourselves out of timeouts a little bit. I think but it all comes down to details. If we become a team that's a little better, a little more efficient with the details, we'll win a lot more games.
And we've seen it in signs. We've seen this group play well for halves of basketball, for nearly an entire game. And we were talking about it earlier today, Coach, that the stretch against Weber State and Idaho State, one of your better weekends, probably the entire year. What went well that weekend? What do you need to do well this weekend to duplicate that success?
Our defense. We came out of halftime against Weber, and for 3 consecutive quarters, we were incredible defensively. And our offense really feeds off our defense. I don't know that we realize that as a group. We always enjoy offense more. And I think in our losses, our defense has affected our offense, and the same thing vice versa. When we're not making baskets, sometimes the energy or transition to defense isn't as great. And we've just got to be balanced on both sides.
Well, the Griz have had a lot of success against these 2 opponents. Idaho State, 21-2 record for Coach DeCuire. Hope to get another win on that ledger. Coach, we always appreciate the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
We'll transition and talk Lady Griz basketball next here on the Griz Insider.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back into the Griz Insider, and we're excited to be talking about some Lady Griz basketball now as the regular season continues to wind down. And joining us now is head coach Nate Harris. And Nate, let's go ahead and talk about the brawl. Obviously, this last weekend, it was it's always a tough loss against the Bobcats, but there were signs with the team. Obviously, I think specifically that run in the second quarter where you guys chipped away and saw kind of complimentary basketball going on. Just in your thoughts, a couple days removed, just kind of speak about the game and just kind of went down against the Cats.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It was a slow start that kind of held us back the entire game. I thought we did some really good things, kind of second, third quarter, fourth quarter. You lose the tempo control a little bit because you're trying to get back in it, trying to create a few more possessions. But started slowly. First quarter got some good looks. Obviously, they buried some shots. A lot of credit to some of their kids for stepping up and making some shots. But I was really excited, really happy with the second and third quarter where I thought we battled and executed our plan really well. Obviously, frustrating to lose to anyone, but especially to the rival on the other side of the state. But excited about things to come for this team. I think we still have some good basketball left in us.
As you were entering this game, having seen them already, and you're kind of in this point of the season where you've seen all these teams once, right? What was the preparation like as you get ready for a team like Montana State, where you're very familiar with them, you've seen them a lot over the last couple of years? Just what's that like entering this game, knowing just the familiarity so strong between these two?
I felt like we had a good plan. Like I said, we tried to do things a little bit differently defensively. Just tried to make a couple different players beat us a little bit more. But offensively, I thought we handled their pressure pretty darn well. Like we only had 7 turnovers in the first half, got a lot of pretty clean looks. Turnover numbers went up a little bit in the second half because they tweak their pressure as they do. They have multiple ways to try to pressure you. But we still had some real good opportunities to score. Like I said, you kind of know what you're going to get. They don't change a lot anyways. They play really similar basketball kind of every single game. But I thought our plan was good. I thought we did some things really well, got some good clean looks early. But yeah, we played them a lot, and we'll see. Would love another shot at them, right? Anytime that we can get out there and compete with the best, we want to.
100%, and it happened last year, right? You think of the run in Boise in the Big Sky Conference tournament. 10,000-foot view, just kind of the program right now, Nate. Obviously, we've talked about year one for you as the head coach. Just 5 games left in the regular season. Just where would you say the team's kind of at right now as we're kind of hitting the stretch run before Boise?
We're at a spot where we need to keep getting better and need to focus on that run in Boise. We have 5 games left. The plan is to go 5-0. We can't go 5-0 until we go 1-0 on Thursday night. How do we go 1-0 on Thursday night? We have a great practice today, right? That's what it is. We have to find ways to get on a roll heading into that Boise stretch, and I do believe that we're a team that we could win these final 5 games and do that. But our focus is on Thursday and going 1-0 on Thursday night, and the first step to that is to have a great practice today.
The first time you saw the Bobcats, you turned around and went on a 4-game winning streak, including a big win over Idaho State on the road. At that time, what changed with the team? What did you see click where maybe some success was able to kind of start coming from this program?
I thought we played with some real defensive intensity through that stretch, and I thought I saw some of that on Saturday. To be real honest, second and third quarter, I thought we defended in an effective way. I thought we honestly took a pretty good punch from Montana State. I thought that was a pretty balanced offensive effort for them, and they got contributions from all over. I thought that was one of our better defensive efforts we've had of the last little bit until kind of late. Like when it went a little bit late as we were trying to get the tempo up. They scored, 20-some, whatever, in the fourth quarter as we tried to keep the possessions high. But we got to a point where we defended with some intensity, and I saw a little bit of that on Saturday as well.
Looking at this week now, obviously hosting Idaho State on Thursday and hosting Weber State on Saturday. These are 2 teams you beat on the road, and they were 2 very close games, right? You think of some thrillers, and pulling those out on the road is always a good mark of the team, showing some of their mettle, right, to get it done. As you look at the rematches with these teams, what stands out? Obviously, Idaho State, one of the better teams in the league, and Weber State knows they're going to be kind of a scrappy group coming in here once again.
Yeah, the opportunity to keep getting better. Obviously, we know we beat Idaho State, we know we beat Weber State, but we have to play our best basketball on Thursday. Idaho State's going to be coming for blood. That was obviously one of their few conference losses this year, and so we've got to be prepared to defend with some intensity and handle a little bit of pressure from them as well. And Weber is going to be game thinking that we shouldn't have beat them, right? So we've just got to respond and focus on 1-0 on Thursday, and then turn around and do it again on Saturday. But it starts with a real short-sighted view of being as good as we can be in practice today.
No doubt about it. Well, it's going to be a fun stretch run. Nate, good luck this week, and thanks so much for joining us here.
Thank you. Go Griz.
You bet. Coming up, Riley will rejoin me here on the Griz Insider.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back into the Griz Insider. Great stuff there from Travis Secure and Nate Harris as they break down the Brawl of the Wild basketball games. And Riley, we look forward to what's going to be kind of a fun stretch here the next couple of weeks. Hard to believe Boise less than 3 weeks away until the Big Sky Conference tournament kicks off. But we have 5 more regular season games for these teams. And as we look at the brackets, let's go ahead and start with the women's bracket because, boy, we were talking off camera. A lot of high-level talent on that top end, but obviously anything can happen. But you look at those top 4 teams, and they're going to be tough to beat come postseason play.
Absolutely, and they have separated, Kyle. I think it's exciting for Big Sky Conference fans out there and for those that are following the race on the women's side of things. You have 4 teams that very well could get 20 wins, all in the same season. 4 teams that feel that they can win the conference tournament, and the fact that those heavyweights are showing out, I think it's good for the league. You need that, and we'll see if there are any upsets in Boise. But, man, what a fun race at the top between Idaho and Montana State. And you look at Idaho's schedule, and they're probably going to be favored in every game that they have left. So we'll see if they slip up. Montana State 1 game behind them, but don't sleep on Idaho State, Northern Colorado. After the top 4, it's kind of one of those who can rise up and be that hot team going into Boise. And I think that's what Coach Harris was talking to you about and hoping what the Lady Griz can do on their side of things. But 5 through 10, it's more of a, okay, who is going to be playing their best and that one team no one wants to play when you go to Boise in a couple of weeks.
This is the kind of the time of the year when you look at the schedules and you go, man, if you'd have had 1 or 2 more here, you know, you're the Lady Griz, you're on that fringe, you know, you're in that 7 to 10 range, you're on that fringe 5-6 where you get that, you know, you wait until Monday to play, so you're not trying to win 4 games to get to the NCAA tournament. You know, they look at the close loss on the road at Eastern Washington. It's just little things like that where you go, if you could have just gotten that, set yourself up a little bit better, but obviously time still to do that, especially with home games. And they took down Idaho State earlier this year. They could definitely do it at home. As we look at the men's bracket, this one's going to be wild. You know, you want to talk about like true March Madness?
Yep.
That's what this is going to be, especially because the men's bracket is always kind of weird. Last year played to chalk. After the previous 2 years, we saw Eastern fall as a 1 seed, but this year, I mean, anybody feels like they could beat anybody, and we're talking about the Griz. You know, they look like they'll lose in the first half, second half, they're world beaters. That feels like the league as a whole, right?
It does. In Sacramento State, this is a good example. They are really good at home, but 0-14 on the road.
Yes.
So there's just so many unique splits with this. Eastern Washington, a great example of that. They played 8 money games this year. They've lost so many games by 2 possessions or less. They're one of the hottest teams going in right now, too.
Northern Colorado.
Absolutely.
Look at what they're doing right now.
Yeah, on the verge of winning 7 straight games. They're at home this week against Northern Arizona. So it is truly wild. And if it is a chalk year on the men's side of things, I think all of us that cover the league are going to be very surprised. I don't think many people would be surprised if it's number 4 seed versus number 7, maybe in the championship game or something like that. Portland State has deserved to be that top dog. They have been consistent all year. I mean, to win 6 straight conference road games, that's really hard to do. They deserve to be that top spot. But after that, everything's up for grabs. From still the 2 seed, yes, the Cats have the inside track on it after beating Montana, but that's still within play. And then who can pull out of the first round bye, get in the top 6? There's a lot to still unpack from the men's side of things, and we'll probably be having these questions all the way leading up to it. It will truly be starch madness down there, and who knows what will happen with the brackets. It'll be a really fun ride, and I think anybody could win it on the men's side.
100%. And you look at just, you know, matchups too, right? Because do you want to be matched up with Eastern or Northern Colorado if you're Portland State is the 1 seed and they're sitting at 4-5? Northern Colorado just beat Portland State at home, and obviously they are just so hot right now because they were so good in non-conference play, started conference play off horribly, and now they're just super hot. The Griz 1 game out from getting that 2 seed where, you know, you get that bye, so it's just a lot of movement could be had, which I think is going to make it a lot of fun.
It'll make it a ton of fun, and even down to the final game where the Griz play Northern Colorado, that could be a springboard game for those 2 teams that have earned that clout. I think the Griz and Northern Colorado, they're going to be on the list of teams that they don't want to play. They don't want to see them pull up in the bracket because you know those teams have the championship pedigree.
100%. Weber State kind of lingering as well, and Idaho slipped a little bit, but they have the talent to do it. No doubt about it if it comes to postseason play. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the Griz Insider after this. Well, as we wrap things up here on the Griz Insider, it's officially our stretch run as we get ready for Boise and Starch Madness. So, Riley, what do you have on deck as we start to wind things down here a little bit?
It feels different, doesn't it? It feels like we're grinding towards the end of the regular season now. It's fun with all the scenarios that we talked about here on the Griz Insider, but we have another Grizzly Coaches show. It's archived edition, thegogriz.com/Inside the Den. Just a more expanded interview with both head coaches, as well as just kind of a preview of getting ready to go here for this big week. But, Kyle, again, feels different. It's fun. Both the Griz and Lady Griz get set for Idaho State.
100%. We wind down to ramp up, right? Especially for the conference tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun down in Boise for Starch Madness. We're going to take a couple of weeks off, but we will be back here on the Griz Insider to preview Boise as we get ready for postseason play. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.